Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a closer look at Roman mythology and specifically the founding of Rome.
Sounds exciting.
You bet it is. And we've got such a fantastic mix of sources you sent over, academic stuff, popular mythology books, really the whole shebang.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to extract like the most interesting bits, help you really get a grasp on who's who and what went down.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating, especially when you look at your sources, is this like often overlooked side of Roman religion.
Oh.
Like way before we get to these big like Jupiter and Mars figures,
Right.
there's this whole older, like almost primal layer of belief.
I see, yeah. It's like before they were building all these grand temples, writing epic poems.
Exactly, yeah.
Their religion was much more about like connecting with the spirits of nature, like not gods with personalities,
Right.
but forces like tied to very specific practical needs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Early Romans, they worshipped spirits like, Ceres, who like ensured a good grain harvest, or Robigus, whose favor meant protection from wheat rust.
Wheat rust?
Yeah. And they even had a spirit named Flora, specifically for blossoms.
Wow.
It was a very different worldview where like every single action, every season was intertwined with these unseen forces.
Like they saw magic in like the everyday act of like farming. Right. And it wasn't just about like communal spirits either.
Yeah.
Because you also have the Lores who guarded like crossroads and boundaries, and the Penates who looked after individual households.
Exactly. So the Lores were ensuring the safety of the community as a whole.
Right.
While the Penates provided more personal protection.
Right. More intimate, like family.
Exactly, yeah. So it shows this fascinating blend of like practicality and personal belief that, really characterized early Roman religion.
Yeah, things get really interesting with Vesta.
Oh, yeah.
The goddess of the hearth.
Yeah.
Because fire was absolutely essential right in their lives.
Absolutely.
And they had these Vestal virgins who were dedicated to keeping Vesta's sacred flame burning.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that pressure?
Oh.
In 30-year vow of chastity.
Wow.
Or you face being buried alive.
It's incredible. And it wasn't just any priestess who would become a Vestal virgin. They were chosen from the most elite families.
Right.
Given immense respect.
Wow.
And privilege.
Yeah.
And, that vow demonstrates just how crucial Vesta's fire was to Roman society. If it went out, it was a terrible omen, like a sign of like impending disaster for the whole city.
Now, we can't talk about early Roman religion without mentioning the Etruscans.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Because they ruled over Rome for 150 years. And their influence on Roman beliefs was huge.
Yeah, it was enormous.
And they brought with them this whole concept of gods in human form.
Yes.
Which at first the Romans were like, nah.
They resisted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did, because the Etruscans were a much more sophisticated culture.
Right.
And they had this deep-rooted belief in omens, seeking messages from the gods in like everything, like the flight of birds, the entrails of animals. It's this way of understanding the divine will that was very different from the Romans' initial approach.
So you've got these two very distinct threads, right?
Yeah.
The practical, nature-based spirits of the early Romans and this Etruscan idea of these human-like gods sending these cryptic messages.
Exactly, yeah. It's a fascinating kind of blend.
It's a fascinating blend.
Yeah.
And out of this kind of like cultural fusion, you get the Roman pantheon that we're more familiar with.
Exactly.
The Capitoline Triad, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva.
Yeah.
They become the most prominent gods, ruling from their grand temple on Capitoline Hill.
The big three, as it were.
The big three, as it were. But even their stories are like shaped by this unique blend of history and mythology.
Absolutely.
Because when it comes to the founding of Rome itself, there's not just one story.
That's right.
There are two.
That's right. The dual foundation myths. So you have Aeneas, the Trojan hero, escapes the fall of Troy.
Yeah.
And guided by his divine mother, Venus, eventually founds the city of Lavinium.
Right.
And then, of course, you have the tale of Romulus and Remus, twin brothers, raised by a she-wolf, who end up vying for the right to establish Rome.
I love the drama.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
But wait a minute. Didn't the story of Aeneas supposedly happen like 500 years before the traditional founding date of Rome in 753 BC?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
That seems like a bit of a chronological hiccup.
It does, doesn't it? But here's what's so interesting. The Womans weren't, like, obsessed with these precise dates as we are.
Right, yeah.
They were more interested in, like, weaving these heroes and gods into this, like, grand narrative that connected their present glory to this epic past.
Yeah.
So to bridge that 500-year gap, they basically, like, invented kings to fill in the blanks.
They did.
Yeah. Chronology wasn't, like, the main point. It was about creating a compelling and meaningful origin story.
Okay. So let's dive into Aeneas' epic journey then.
Let's do it.
He escapes burning Troy, carrying same father, his household gods, guided by Venus.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about family devotion.
Oh, yeah.
But his path wasn't exactly a walk in the park, was it?
Not at all, no. Consulting oracles, wrong turns, plagues.
Oh, my God.
All sorts of challenges.
So Aeneas' journey wasn't simply about, like, getting from point A to point B.
Not at all.
It was a test of, like, character.
Absolutely,
A reflection of the very values that the Romans, like, admired.
Exactly. He's constantly seeking guidance from the gods, which shows deep respect for the divine.
Right.
Which is, you know, a core element of Roman pietas. And remember that moment when his household gods appeared to him in a dream?
Yes.
Directing him to Italy.
Right.
It's a clear message, like, trust in destiny.
Trust in destiny.
Even when things get confusing.
Wow.
It's great.
And then there's that whole Dido episode.
Oh, Dido.
Talk about a legendary love story.
Yeah.
With some serious consequences.
Big consequences.
So Juno, still holding a grudge against the Trojans, causes Aeneas to be shipwrecked in Carthage.
Yeah.
Ruled by the beautiful Queen Dido.
Yeah.
And then, just to make things even more complicated,
right.
both Venus and Juno
It's wild.
scheme to make them fall in love. It's like divine intervention on a whole nother level.
It really highlights how the gods would often use mortals as, like, pawns in their own games. You know, Venus wanted Dido to protect Aeneas, but Juno saw an opportunity to distract him from fulfilling his destiny. And then you've got Cupid, Venus's son, who gets involved and makes Dido fall head over heels.
Wow.
It's just a recipe for heartbreak.
Poor Dido.
I know.
Aeneas is torn between, like, his love for her and his duty to his people.
Yes.
Right? And he ultimately chooses his destiny over his heart.
Yes.
And then Dido's despair, her dramatic suicide on a funeral pyre.
Yeah.
Cursing Aeneas.
Yeah.
And Rome.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful storytelling.
It's incredibly powerful. And it's more than just a, like, tragic romance, right?
Yeah.
It showcases this tension between, like, personal desire and the demands of fate.
Yeah.
You know, a recurring theme in Roman mythology.
Right.
And Aeneas' choice, while agonizing, reinforces this idea
that
Rome's founding was ordained by the gods.
Yeah.
Even if it came at the cost of personal happiness.
And Dido's curse kind of foreshadows future conflicts between Rome and Carthage.
Exactly, yeah.
Which, historically speaking, did happen.
It did.
It makes you wonder if fiction sometimes, like, mirrors.
Right.
Or even shapes reality.
Right.
But for now, let's rewind a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about those wolf-raised twins.
Oh, yeah.
Romulus and Remus.
Yes.
Their origin story is straight out of myth, right?
Absolutely.
You have a Vestal virgin.
Yeah.
Rhea Silvia.
Yeah.
Impregnated by the god Mars.
Talk about a violation of those sacred vows.
Talk about a violation.
What should I know?
So their very birth is, like, challenging the established order.
It is. It's a transgression against these, like, sacred rules. And King Amulius, right, the current ruler, and the one who forced Rhea Silvia into being a Vestal virgin in the first place.
Right.
He sees these twins as a direct threat to his power. So he orders them to be drowned in the Tiber River. But fate, as it so often does, has other plans.
Enter the she-wolf.
The she-wolf.
Rescuing and suckling the twins.
It's such a powerful image.
Oh, it's iconic, right?
Yeah.
This image of the she-wolf has become synonymous with Rome, symbolizing this, like, wild, primal connection to nature.
It embodies both the humble beginnings of Rome, but also this, like, untamed, fierce spirit.
Yeah.
It's such a, like, contrast.
Yeah, it's a contrast to, like,
Aeneas, more like civilized, pious journey.
Right. And then there's that element of fratricide in the story.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Romulus kills Remus.
Yeah.
Whether it's, like, in a fit of rage or as some predestined act.
It's a pretty dark foundation story for a city.
It is.
Wouldn't you say?
It is. What do you think this, like, says about Roman character.
Well, I mean, the fratricide is such a, pivotal moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It begs the question, was Rome destined for conflict from its very inception?
That's a good question.
Did this act foreshadow
Right.
the empire's expansion
Right.
through conquest, which was, often achieved through violence and bloodshed?
Right.
It's a question historians and mythographers have debated for centuries.
Yeah.
And it's a question worth pondering as we continue to delve deeper into these stories.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
A question worth pondering.
Yeah. So we've got these twin brothers, right? Raised by a she-wolf.
Yeah.
Embodying this raw, untamed energy.
Yes.
But they don't stay in the wilderness forever, do they?
Not at all. Eventually they find their way back to civilization.
Right.
And they reunite with their grandfather.
Yeah.
Nugator.
Okay.
And it turns out he's been living under the oppressive rule of King Aemilius.
Right. The
very same guy who tried to have them drowned as babies.
Oh, wow. Classic mythological power struggle.
Right.
It's almost like a Shakespearean drama.
Yeah, it is.
You've got the rightful heir ousted by a scheming relative, and then these two young heroes arrive.
Right.
Almost as if guided by fate to set things right.
To set things right. So they overthrow the usurper, reclaim their birthright, and then set their sights on founding a city. But even that decision isn't without its share of drama.
That's right. The sources describe this contest between Romulus and Remus.
Right.
Each brother determined to be the one to, found the city and give it his name.
Give it his name.
So they choose their respective hills. They watch for signs from the gods.
Right.
They even, consult bird omens.
Oh, wow.
Again, a clear example of that Etruscan influence.
Yes.
This idea of, seeking divine approval for every major decision.
But then, boom, fratricide part 2.
Yeah.
Romulus kills Remus.
And Rome is born under the shadow of violence.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to reconcile that.
It is.
With, the image of this glorious empire, isn't it?
It is. It presents such a, stark contrast, right, to the image of Aeneas as this, noble, pious hero. Yeah. But I think this act of violence, right, it raises some really important questions about the very nature of Rome. Was it destined for conflict from the very beginning?
Ooh.
Was this, a necessary sacrifice to ensure its future greatness?
Yeah.
It's a debate, that has captivated historians and mythographers for centuries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of Aeneas, let's circle back to his journey.
Okay, yeah.
So after that dramatic escape from Troy and that heartbreaking affair with Dido, he finally lands in Italy. But it's not exactly a smooth arrival.
Not exactly.
It's more like, welcome to Italy, now prepare for war.
Right.
Right.
Even though he's, supposedly fulfilling his destiny.
Right.
Arriving in the land promised by the gods.
Right.
Aeneas faces obstacle after obstacle.
Right.
I mean, first, there's the Sibyl of Cuma.
Okay.
This prophetess who foretells all sorts of, hardship and bloodshed that await him.
Right.
Talk about a downer.
Yeah, right. But Aeneas is no stranger to adversity.
He's not.
Right. He perseveres, even venturing into the underworld.
Yes.
To consult with the ghost of his dead father.
Oh, wow. That descent into the underworld is such a pivotal moment in Aeneas' story.
Absolutely.
It's not just a spooky adventure, right?
Right.
It's a symbolic journey.
Yeah.
A way for him to connect with his ancestors and gain a deeper understanding of Rome's destiny.
And during this journey, he gets to meet some of his most famous descendants.
Yes.
Including Romulus.
I know, right?
The very founder of Rome.
Can you imagine that family reunion?
Wow.
It's like he's being given a glimpse into the greatness that lies ahead.
Right.
The legacy that he's playing a part in creating.
Yeah, it reinforces this idea that Rome's future was preordained.
Yes.
That its rise to power was part of some grand, divinely inspired plan.
Exactly. Yeah. It's such a powerful message, adding this layer of legitimacy and inevitability to the whole narrative.
Right. And it also emphasizes this idea of lineage.
Yes.
Of carrying the torch forward.
Totally.
Yeah. It's not just about Aeneas.
Right.
It's about the generations that follow.
Yeah.
Building upon the foundation that he lays.
I love that.
So Aeneas, bolstered by this ghostly pep talk.
Right.
finally arrives in Laudium, meets King Latinus, offers gifts, and for a moment, it seems like things are going to, like, work out peacefully.
Yeah, on the surface.
Right.
You know?
Latinus is even willing to offer his daughter, Lavinia, in marriage to Aeneas.
Yeah.
Seemingly welcoming him and his people get in the fold.
Yeah, but this is where things get complicated.
Oh.
Right, a little foreshadowing.
Because it turns out Lavinia was already promised to Turnus, a Rutulian prince. And Juno,
Juno,
still seeking revenge,
is not about to let Aeneas have an easy time of it.
She's not going to let go of this grudge.
She is not.
So Juno, being the master manipulator that she is, seizes this opportunity to stir up trouble.
Yes.
She plays on Turnus's jealousy and ambition, even enlisting the help of the Furies.
The Furies?
To incite, like, violence and chaos.
It's a classic case, right?
Right.
Of the gods using mortals as pawns in their own, like, divine games. And the result is an all-out war.
Wow.
A clash of cultures and ambitions, with the fate of Rome hanging in the balance.
High stakes. So it's Trojans versus Rutulians, with gods and goddesses choosing sides, influencing events from behind the scenes.
Yeah. Talk about drama.
Talk about drama. And Virgil, the Roman poet who wrote the Aeneid, doesn't hold back on those epic battle scenes.
No, he does not.
Right. Like, the imagery is so vivid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, remember the description of Vulcan forging a shield for Aeneas? The shield depicting all of Rome's future glory.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about the spectacle of war, right? It's about, like, imbuing this conflict with, like, deeper meaning. Elevating it to this, like, cosmic level. This struggle between, like, divine forces and human ambition.
Wow.
It's powerful.
But in the end, it's not just brute force that determines the outcome.
That's right.
There's this pivotal moment where Juno, realizing she can't ultimately stop Rome's destiny, strikes a deal with Jupiter. She agrees to back down. But with one important condition.
Oh, we go.
Right. And this is where the myth becomes intertwined with Roman identity in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right.
Tell me more.
So Juno's condition is that the Latins, the original inhabitants of the land, will be allowed to keep their name and their language.
Oh, wow.
It's not a complete Trojan takeover.
No.
It's like a fusion.
Right.
A blend of cultures.
It's fascinating how that element of the myth, kind of mirrors what actually happened historically.
Does.
You know, with the Roman Empire, like absorbing and adapting to local customs as it expanded. You know, it wasn't always about just wiping out the enemy.
Right. This compromise, I feel like, embodies like a key aspect of like Roman pragmatism.
It does.
Right. It's this recognition that like integration, incorporating like diverse peoples and beliefs could actually strengthen the empire in the long run.
Absolutely.
And of course, this all ends with Aeneas marrying Lavinia. Right? Solidifying the Trojan lineage. And fulfilling that grand prophecy of a glorious future for Rome.
But it's not a happy ending for everyone, is it?
No.
What about poor Turnus?
Yeah, he doesn't get to, like, ride off into the sunset, does he?
No, he doesn't. Unfortunately, Turnus meets a tragic end. Defeated and killed by Aeneas.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's a final act of violence that seems to echo that theme of fratricide that we see from the very beginning with Romulus and Remus.
It makes you wonder, is this cycle of conflict something that Rome is destined to repeat?
It's a good question.
So we've got these two founding myths, each filled with, like, divine intervention, epic battles, some pretty weighty moral dilemmas.
Absolutely.
But what does it all mean? What can we, like, learn from these stories?
I mean, that's the beauty of myth, isn't it? These stories are, like, open to interpretation. They offer us a glimpse, I think, into the Roman psyche, you know, their values, their anxieties, their understanding of their place in the world. And they continue to, like, resonate with us today.
Right. And it's not just about, like, gods and monsters. It's about, like, understanding, like, the human story. Right. The choices people make, the forces that, like, shape their destinies. And in many ways, those same forces are still at play in our own lives. We've come a long way, haven't we? From those early Roman spirits, tied to the earth, the harvest, all the way to the grandeur of the Capitoline Triad. We explored the epic adventures of Aeneas.
Yes.
And that dramatic, almost Shakespearean tale of Romulus and Remus.
It is. And I think as we consider these layers of myth and history, right, all woven together, it's striking how they reveal a very particular worldview, this way of understanding the forces at play in human destiny, both on a personal level and a societal level.
Even with all the divine intervention going on, right?
Yeah.
The gods pulling strings, meddling in human affairs.
Right.
There's still this strong emphasis on human agency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aeneas making these difficult choices, Romulus taking drastic action.
Right.
It's not just a case of, oh, the gods made me do it.
Oh, absolutely not. That's a great observation. Roman mythology really highlights the importance of personal responsibility, especially for those in positions of leadership.
Right.
Look at Aeneas, right? And his unwavering pietas, his devotion to family, gods, destiny.
Yeah.
It becomes the ideal model for Roman rulers.
I see, yeah.
It suggests that leadership isn't just about power,
Right.
but about fulfilling a divinely ordained role, even if it requires great personal sacrifice.
And speaking of rulers, right, both of these founding myths connect back to real historical figures in fascinating ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Roman emperors would claim direct descent from Aeneas.
Right.
And Augustus even tied his rise to power.
Oh, wow.
To the appearance of a comet after Julius Caesar's death.
Really?
Yeah. It's they're weaving this narrative that links their authority to these epic stories, drawing legitimacy from this grand mythological past.
Right. It's a brilliant strategy.
It is.
Grounding their power.
Yeah.
In these stories that everyone knows and believes in.
Everyone believes them.
But it wasn't just about emperors and the elite, right?
Right.
Those early Roman values, that practicality and emphasis on community that we talked about, that shaped everyday life as well.
Oh, absolutely. That focus on order, duty, respect for tradition really permeates Roman society. I mean, think back to the Vestal Virgins, right? And their dedication to maintaining Vesta's fire.
Yeah.
It represents this deeply held belief in the importance of rituals, of upholding these sacred traditions, for the well-being of the entire community.
And even the way they incorporated gods from other cultures, right? Jupiter taking on aspects of the Greek gods, Zeus, Juno becoming a Roman version of Hera.
Yeah.
It speaks to a certain pragmatism, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
This willingness to adapt and integrate new elements into their own belief system.
It's a good reminder that Roman mythology wasn't this static, unchanging system,
Right.
It evolved and grew, reflecting their expanding empire.
Right.
And encounters with diverse cultures and beliefs.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway here? Why should we in the 21st century, care about these ancient Roman myths?
I mean, I think these myths offer us a window into a civilization that fundamentally shaped Western culture, right?
Yeah.
Its laws, its art, its understanding of power and leadership, and they continue to influence us today, even if we aren't always aware of it. They're not just entertaining stories.
Right.
They contain these deep insights into the human condition.
It's like holding up a mirror in a way, right? It's seeing how these ancient ideas about fate, duty, the struggle for power, still resonate with our own values and beliefs.
They do.
And maybe even more importantly, these myths remind us of the enduring power of storytelling itself.
Absolutely.
Right? How these narratives passed down through generations help the Romans understand their place in the world, connect with their past, and envision their future.
And they provide a framework, right, for understanding history and culture. And they invite us, I think, to reflect on these timeless questions that humans have grappled with for centuries.
So what does all this mean for you, our listener, who has been on this journey with us?
Yeah.
Well, we hope you've gained like a deeper understanding of the richness and complexity of Roman mythology.
Absolutely.
And that you feel inspired to explore further.
Yeah, pick up Virgil's Need. Delve into the historical accounts of Livy.
Yeah.
Read about the lives of Roman emperors. The deep dive doesn't end here.
No.
It's your turn to take the reins and continue exploring.
And as you do, ask yourself, how did these myths like shape the Roman worldview?
Yeah, great question.
What can we learn from them about their values?
Yes.
Their fears, their aspirations.
I love that.
Because in understanding their stories, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves.
So true. Until next time. Keep exploring, keep questioning.
Yes.
And keep that love of mythology alive.
I like that.
Yeah.